ROMEOs!
Hey.
Nice to see you guys.
ROMEOs!
Here we are again.
Welcome back, guys. And welcome back to our audience, our viewers, our listeners. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for liking us. Thanks for subscribing. This is your reminder to do so if you haven't already. And with that out of the way, guys, what do you think about discussing the topic of abortion and more specifically whether or not men have a right to opine on the subject of abortion?
We always like a nice, energetic conversation about the issues that are of concern to society. So it's in that category. Let's go for it.
Yeah, Dom?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
Naren?
it.
Holy shit. Did you pick something a little bit more controversial?
And Nuran, coming to us from a nice Catholic country, I'm sure he'll bring a very interesting perspective, as always.
So, Aki, why don't you get us started?
Why not? Abortion. I mean, it's a significant public and societal issue. It affects. It doesn't. It's not just a woman's issue. It's a societal issue, and it's very appropriate that our voices are heard, and that men also they take a stand.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Yeah. Well, this is the way
Complete bullshit.
This is the way I see it. Abortion is an issue because a woman and a man, created something or did something, and now abortion is an issue. So obviously, the man has to have a say. However, the ultimate decision is the woman's soul and territory because it's her body and the decision is hers. However, to add to that, abortion, I still think abortion is the killing of a baby. There's no ifs and buts for me.
Okay, so that's a different topic which we can delve into.
Yeah.
But first and foremost, we want to come to grips with whether or not men have a right to have an opinion
You have to have
on abortion.
Yeah. They have a right.
Naren?
So I'm in a whole different direction. I think men have the right for an opinion. I can have an opinion. You can have an opinion. But I don't think we have any say in what happens with a woman's body. So, yeah, a guy stuck his dick in there and got her pregnant, but she's going to decide what she's going to do for the next 9 months. If you're going to take that child and stick it up a guy's ass and have that thing gestate into a human being, into a guy, then the guy can have a say as to what happens with the body. But I am sorry, there's no fucking way that a bunch of men are going to tell a woman what to do with their body. I think that's completely perverse. I think it's the most disgusting thing that's ever happened on this planet, where a bunch of old guys decide what's going to happen to a woman's body because, oh my God, it's life, the sanctity of life. Fuck you. Put it into your body for 9 months. Live with that human being growing inside you, and you decide what you're going to do with your body.
Yeah, it'd be nice if you had a stronger opinion on the subject, Naren.
It's disgusting. I find it fucking disgusting.
So do you think that the argument you put forth or that you guys put forth is the same regardless of what the relationship is between the man and women who created the baby?
I think.
No.
Look, there's two levels to this. One is the relationship, your personal involvement in the situation. That's one perspective. But the other perspective is also on a political level, where this is a hot issue, and men either for or against. We are an important voice in this. Whether we're to Nuran's point, if we're going to stand, by women who absolutely are right to insist, that it's their body, it's their decision, and the government has no business, in telling them what to do with their bodies, we're important allies. That's a role that we have to play. So that's and similarly, we could be on the other side as well. But this is an issue that touches all of society, and I think all of society should be standing up and be either for or against, but take a stand.
Okay, so using different language, I would say I'm very much in the same camp as Nuran is, where 100%. I think that men and women have a right to an opinion on any subject they choose to opine on, any subject. With respect to the ultimate decision as to whether or not to carry a pregnancy through or to end it, That is entirely, in my opinion, that is entirely a woman's prerogative.
If she's in a relationship with the man also would be involved in this conversation, in your
They
opinion.
would have a conversation, and of course, he's entitled to an opinion, but ultimately,
Not to the decision.
it is her decision.
I agree.
We agree.
Totally
And
agree.
I think that in a relationship that is based on mutual respect, even if the guy disagrees with the woman's decision, he will respect her decision and accept her decision.
I agree.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Period.
Because you know what, Nora?
Guys, I was just going to say, guys, any other way you look at it is renegating or relegating a woman to being an oven for 9 months. Any other opinion that a guy can have, or any other viewpoint that a man has, besides that it's a woman's right in the end to choose, just makes her into an oven. It's like every woman in your life, your mother, every woman you've ever known is a fucking oven.
Yeah, but Nora, I don't know why you're focusing on just on the gestation period. It's after, raising the child and everything. It's not just, carrying for 9 months. Having a child is beyond that.
Oh, I agree. No, Dominic, don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about having a child. Like, to me, having a child and raising a child and loving a child, that's a whole different thing. I'm just talking about a decision that a woman gets pregnant and then decides or has other people decide, has a bunch of men decide that she now has to take this child to full term and not get an abortion, for example, for whatever reason she feels she's not ready to be a mom, could be hundreds of reasons, but it's her choice. And to have a man come in and say, no, I'm the one who stuck it in you, so you're going to have this child, it means she's an oven, because her wishes are not being respected anymore. And that's where I find it's completely wrong.
So okay, we have to distinguish between an opinion and an edict or a law. So you're kind of crossing the line, Nuran, in describing situations where men, and in some countries, I'm thinking predominantly the U.S., it's a combination of men and women, who may decide on whether or not a woman has the right to choose. So
yeah, and there are also
we're offering an opinion. I think we're unanimous on the fact that a woman is the only individual who ultimately should choose whether or not to have an abortion.
And here's the nasty curve to all this. Does that extend to at what point of the pregnancy that will apply? So if a woman decides, at the end of the 8 months to have an abortion,
we don't know what the circumstances are in each and every case. And I don't think we would have the time to even begin to address every possible scenario. But I can understand that a woman who is far along in her pregnancy and who may face a threat of life. In other words, her own life is threatened by carrying the pregnancy to term, may elect to end the pregnancy for the sake of preserving her own life.
Absolutely.
That's her choice.
That's her choice.
Guys, but there are also ways to get the baby. I mean, you can have a premature baby. I don't know how many weeks before they're viable or not. But again, if that mom has that decision to make and still wants to have the baby, as long as it's past a certain amount of gestation, I mean, you can have a premature baby and still everything will be fine.
Okay.
Or hopefully everything.
Again,
will be fine.
we can't cover every possible scenario.
No.
So my point is, the pregnant woman's life may not only be threatened during the time of the pregnancy. She may have been diagnosed with a life-threatening disease, right, and does not want to bring a child into this world, knowing that there's a high likelihood that in a short period of time, that child may have to be put up for adoption or may have to be cared for by another family member. It's her right to choose. I may have an opinion, but I don't have the right to tell her what to do.
Okay. So if we put aside the condition of there's a threat to the woman's health, and going back to Nuran's point, what Nuran is absolutely arguing for is unconditional freedom of women to decide what to do with their pregnancy, right, Nuran?
Yes, but to your point, I'm not suggesting that a 8.5 month pregnancy be terminated, for God's sake. That becomes a mental health issue.
But let's also look at things, practically speaking, because there are all kinds of scenarios. I've even heard, one argument recently that there are individuals who are aborting, after the baby is born. Well, that's not an abortion if it's after the baby is born. And are we talking out of our hats, or are we talking factually about the scenarios?
It's bullshit.
So how many abortions are ended in the late stages of pregnancy?
Very
I have
few.
to believe it's relatively few.
Yes.
Very
Extremely rare.
Or that some retroactive abortions would be justified.
few. Well,
Elaborate, Dominic.
if even feasible. Yeah. Look, whatever reasons an individual, a woman has, are her reasons, and we're not going to get inside their heads, and understand whatever it is, their thought processes, what they're going through, and even if we could, it's their choice.
Absolutely.
Period.
Yeah.
Period.
And I don't understand the conservative argument, coming from a thinking that says the state should be out of our lives. The state has no business, running our lives. And here on the abortion question, they argue and they would like the state to be involved in such an intimate decision on the part of a woman and her partner.
It's back to hypocrisy.
I
It's
think
not
about
that,
religion,
it's not that
guys.
those people don't want the state involved. They want the state involved, but on selective issues.
Yeah, it's about religion. I mean, it's the religious right that does this stuff. So they want to get legislation to make Bible verses into law, for God's sake.
But you're talking about the
So-
U.S. specifically when you make that statement. Whereas I would say more broadly speaking, it's a yes, it's a religious issue, but it's a cultural issue.
it's also to avoid using abortion as a contraceptive.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the case in many situations. Today, there's no reason. There's so many available contraceptive methods.
So I'm gonna disagree with you because I understand the argument, and I will agree if the statement is there should be no excuses today. But the fact of the matter is that you still have people who are raised in poverty, who are not well educated, who don't understand the consequences of their actions, who are naive at a young age, get themselves into a predicament. And should they know better? They probably should know better, but they don't. And what do you do?
But Dominic, what you're suggesting is that there's some practice out there that abortion is so liberal that it's just easy for people to be promiscuous and then just to go and have the abortion. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the city we live in, we have more abortions than we have births. So,
More abortion.
I haven't seen any data. I can't comment.
So I mean,
Well, guys, the part that's also missing in that argument is that, I do believe that any abortion is going to take a mental toll on the person that it's happening to. I don't think there'll be very few women, in my opinion, who will go for an abortion, even though it's, the day after they made a mistake, whatever, and they're using it, to your term, Dominic, as birth control. But I think it'll have a profound effect on them. I don't think there's many women who've gone through 5, 6, 7 of these because it's so easy to get an abortion, and I'll just keep doing that.
I don't know.
I think that's an argument from the right end of the spectrum.
I'll be honest. I don't know anybody who's had an abortion, so I have no idea.
No, I know. I know people who've had abortions.
Yeah. So
So it is. I mean, it's a common.
But again, whatever the choice. I read recently, and I hope I got this right. I think it was Stevie Nicks. Stevie Nicks, one of the singers in Fleetwood Mac, a very successful solo artist, who I believe went public with the fact that she had an abortion while she was a member of Fleetwood Mac. And the headline was something along the lines that if I hadn't had an abortion, there would be no Fleetwood Mac. So I don't know what the details are because there was a lot of shenanigans going on between the band members at one time or another.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that, and she's going public for her own personal reasons, not because she needs to. But I come back to whatever your reasons are, it's your choice. I may have an opinion,
Yeah.
but it's your choice.
And that's the ultimate, going back to the hypocrisy part of this, and that's the ultimate hypocrisy that some of the strongest, anti-abortion voices in most capitals, in leadership circles, if it's their daughter, somebody in their family, they will, of course. We all know that they will, of course, accept the abortion.
Well, or the fact that they had an affair and impregnated someone.
Oh, well, of course.
Right? And then, conveniently, let's make this problem go away.
Yeah.
Yeah, but hypocrisy. I mean, anytime you talk about government circles, it's filled with hypocrisy.
Well, not in government circles. I mean, also, church leaders and so forth.
Well, absolutely.
Right, business, and in any segment of society. The people that the men that so proudly and so vociferously take a stand against abortion. In their personal lives, if they're in a situation like that with a woman that they love in their personal lives, we all know what their decision is going to be, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, 99 times out of 100. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Probably more.
So how is this going to be resolved then? I mean, what do we see as being like reasonable resolution of the abortion debate?
Where?
Well,
the abortion debate. Well, right now,
most West, even if in most West, I think in most Western countries, we know that there is still strong, even if there are abortion allowances, there's still movements and there's still large parts of the population who are really opposed to abortion.
But with the exception of the United States, if I'm not mistaken, with the exception of the U.S.,
how about some Catholic countries?
Most Western countries have recognized that it's a woman's right to choose.
All I'm saying is I'm suggesting that that might be what the law is, but there's still like significant movement opposed to it.
It doesn't matter.
And they would like to overturn it.
But they don't. Because fundamentally, they've accepted and recognized that it's a woman's right to choose. The one glaring exception in Western society is the U.S.
Yeah.
And then if you want to talk about Middle Eastern countries and so on.
No, West.
Well, that's an entirely different
conversation.
And it all comes down to always the same thing. Parents, educate your kids. Educate your kids.
To be responsible.
Yeah.
So we support like strong, sex education and so forth.
But, the parents, you get to a certain age, when they start, 12, 13, 14, you have to educate them. Especially with all the methods that's available today. There's no reason to get to that point.
Well, but you're also touching on situations where a female is not yet a woman, legally speaking. So you have a lot of pregnancies that occur, when a female is still a child, a teenager.
Yeah, well, a girl.
Right.
Girl becomes a woman when she has her first period. It's as simple as that.
Define
I don't know if it's as
the periods of women.
Well, because when she gets her first period, she can become pregnant.
No, but the question of choice becomes interesting when you're dealing with a 12, 13, 14-year-old.
That's why education. Parents, be involved.
But in spite of education, there will still be situations where it happens.
And maybe, the counter argument is, of course, this is what happens when you have men in charge. I don't know. Is that a fair?
Implying what?
And fine. I mean, again, you're right. I mean, where it is really the only society in the Western world that is still grappling with this, where it's really super controversial, is in the States.
Well, and I think most Americans thought that this issue was behind them.
And the States is ruled by men.
The States, until further notice, is ruled by men.
Until further notice. That's
there's some crazy
important qualifier, my friend.
And I think that in the States, it also illustrates the power of the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
People are so focused on presidency, Congress.
Yeah.
Not as much attention, I think, is generally paid to the Supreme Court, and they've demonstrated just how much power they exert.
Aki, it's not just men. There's some crazy women, or anti-abortion, so...
I know, but if you look at the states, the levers of power are controlled by men.
And ultimately, across most of the world, it is men making decisions and certainly enacting laws that govern how everyone, including women, must behave, and what choices, if any, are available to them. Look, there are cultures where a woman continues to be a man's property. How far-fetched is that?
Yeah.
At this stage in the evolution of the world, it's nuts, absolutely nuts.
So the Americans really have it all wrong. That's our consensus on this issue.
Well, I think
not every state.
No,
I think you can't just toss aside the important issues and beliefs that have caused this to become such an important issue and such a hot issue in the U.S. There are people who are so firmly entrenched in their belief system.
Yeah.
And we reduce it to a simple argument of pro-choice versus pro-life. And it's so much more complex than that. But people are entrenched, and I think Nuran made the comment earlier about the influence of religion on these matters in the U.S. specifically.
But again, in other societies, as we just discussed, those groups have not had their way on the abortion question. I mean, better minds and more reason has prevailed.
They're not as fanatical. I look at some of the European countries that have such legacies in religion and the influence of religion. And even in those countries, you don't have the level of, fanatics that you have in America.
Yeah.
You're right, Pat, because I'm Catholic and I don't have the same opinions as Catholic leaders. I don't. I'm still Catholic.
Yeah, which is now, that's basically the whole reality of the Catholic Church, is where the distance between the faithful and the church leadership. I mean,
exactly.
the gap is enormous.
It's
we know
huge.
that. And this is what we're going back to, and this is what's really scary in all this, is that we're seeing that, especially in the States, this whole notion of what happened to the separation of church and state. It's crumbling, and abortion seems to be the vanguard of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So in terms of abortion, we still have to discuss about the responsibility for birth control. Man or woman?
Shared.
Shared? Yeah.
I think it's a good question, but there's an important distinction to be made in terms of a man's role vis-a-vis the decision to end a pregnancy or not, where I think we all agree, we have consensus around the fact that it's a woman's choice, as opposed to what is a man's responsibility. So a man who is involved in the creation of a human life has responsibility for that life, shared responsibility for that life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And trying to avoid the creation of a human life while engaging in sexual activity is also a shared responsibility.
Yeah. So what happens though in a situation where the woman, for different reasons, might not be of stable mind and is irresponsible and uses the abortion as a weapon?
I'm sorry, I'm not following the question.
I'm saying there might be also situations where the woman is not not all there.
Okay.
And there's an issue there with that
You're
person.
talking intellectually, emotionally?
Emotionally, intellectually.
Okay.
And there's an issue there about that person's competence.
To be a
mental
mother.
competence.
To raise a child.
To raise a child, or even to have a birth, to give birth to a child. That person's... all I'm saying is, and I don't know, again, probably we're gonna argue that that's really a really ultra thin slice of society. Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying, when we talk about the unconditional, I'm going back to this idea of the unconditional freedom and right of women to call the shots when it comes to abortion. And I'm just saying that in some instances that woman might be in the wrong because of different issues, and there's a male in the situation. They want to be able to preserve that embryo.
When you say she may be in the wrong,
she may be in the wrong because she might be mentally unstable. She may be in the wrong in what regard? She might not have the competence to be able to make a decision like that because of psychological issues and other issues that she might be dealing with.
Based on whose assessment?
I'm just saying, guys. I mean, there is this. We all agree that fundamentally the freedom is the woman has the ultimate authority to decide what to do when it comes to an abortion. We all agree on that principle. But sometimes, what is the safeguard when that person is not mentally competent? That's my question.
Who determines whether someone is mentally competent?
That's a small. But I'm going to make a statement that's going to be. I think birth control should be predominantly a man's responsibility. I'll explain why I think that way. Because a man's birth control is the one that's the only one that's visible. Whereas
yes.
A woman tells you, I'm taking the pill, or I have an IUD, or whatever they call them. You don't know. At least a man, you wrap it up, it's visible.
With a bow?
If he's well endowed, yes.
Yeah.
I didn't say a large bow, just a bow.
Exactly. So, I think men have the ultimate responsibility for birth control.
I think it's a shared responsibility.
It's a shared
It is a shared, but you know what?
I don't know if this is what you intend, but what I'm interpreting your comment as, a man should take the necessary precautions because he can't trust that his sexual partner is.
Which is a little bit difficult.
You not necessarily can't trust the part. You can't trust the method sometimes. The IUD.
Well, the methods that are within a woman's control may be more effective than a man slipping on a condom.
I don't know about that. I mean, the pill is 97%. The IUD, I don't know.
Well, it's a joint responsibility.
It is.
It's a joint responsibility.
But, I think as a man...
So, look, if you're having casual sex and you really don't know the person you're having sex with all that well, you would be wise to take precautions at your end because you don't know when you can't trust what another person is doing.
And that's often what...
And by the way, you also have the issue of STD.
Yeah.
So many women in their right mind will also insist, regardless of what precautions they're taking, that their partner slip on a condom.
Well, guys,
there's other ways to have sex where you're not going to get pregnant.
Do you want to enlighten us, Naren?
No, let's not go there. We went there.
I was thinking
We went there.
We're
there.
Naren, the floor is yours.
Well, I mean, if you don't want to get a woman pregnant, I mean, there's different options. Just pick another option.
Okay. All right. Well, there's many answers then out there. So getting back to your question earlier about my example that I'm giving, if there's an abusive situation, if the woman is abusing the situation because of mental competence and so forth, you ask how is that determined? Well, you still have I'm talking about without taking it apart too much, but you have psychiatric examination, you have a legal system, you still have credible and objective resources for being able to make this assessment.
But by the time things play out through the legal process, your pregnancy.
I'm just all I'm saying
maybe
is
long over.
I just want for there to be an allowance for in a situation like that.
For who? For an allowance for who to make a decision?
For the male involved, for the man involved in that situation.
It could become a matter of convenience for the male.
Well,
she's not stable.
Really? I mean, we don't have any. There's no possibility.
I didn't say there's no possibility.
So that's
but you're
what I'm
opening
saying.
the door to abuse on the part of the man. And what recourse does that man have?
Actually, may I suggest if a man wants 100% shot at having a baby, that he pays a surrogate, and if you want an oven, pay for the oven. And put your seed in the oven and get a baby 9 months later.
Naren, but do you understand? Okay, do you accept that there's a possibility that the woman might not be, for the reasons that I explained, might not be in a position to make the right decision? It's not making the right decision, and it's not necessary to have an abortion.
What if the woman's condition?
Aki, that's your opinion. Your opinion is that she's not making the right decision. Maybe for her, because of her mental state, she's making the absolute right decision.
Let me ask you a question.
Why are you the one who judges that? That's where I kind of see the argument falling apart. We shouldn't judge. If she doesn't feel confident to raise that child, don't have a child.
No, but if she's not mentally competent,
what if the woman's mental state and emotional state are brought on by the pregnancy?
Of course, of course. You have to give, due process has to take place here. I am
You
just
say due
saying.
process, but if you want to get the courts involved in this type of decision, let's not kid ourselves.
Okay, so
The
it's
pregnancy will be long over by the time it goes to the
okay.
courts.
So all I'm saying is that this ironclad freedom that you're giving to women covers all circumstances and all contingencies. Even if the woman is not, we know, or it's clear that the woman is mentally unbalanced. And look, but the same thing
So
could be
why do
happening.
you want a mentally unbalanced
exactly.
woman to have a child?
Exactly.
But that's what I'm saying. If a mentally imbalanced woman decides I want to have this baby, but the person really is very imbalanced, is dealing with a lot of serious, psychological. Oh, no,
Yeah,
sorry,
but hang
the
on.
reverse.
Aki,
The reverse.
hang on.
No, sorry. Let me just
Aki,
clear this up, Nuran. So what I'm saying is, I just want to correct myself. I'm saying is that I want to abort this baby, but I'm not, mentally competent. And I can't manage my affairs. Therefore, I want to abort this baby, and society should accept my decision to abort this baby. That's what I'm putting on the table.
And that's the right
Okay, so
decision.
Aki, why would that woman who's not mentally competent, why should she not be able to abort the baby? You just said you want a mentally incompetent woman to raise a child?
No, what I'm saying is I don't want to. If there's a situation where there's a partner and the partner really wants to have that baby and is prepared to step up and be the father to that child, and the other partner is mentally incompetent, why would we agree that woman should have an abortion in that circumstance?
Aki,
That's
yeah.
what I'm saying.
Aki.
If it's an adult woman, I think it's her
Respect for the
choice.
woman's body.
Okay, even so, mental competence for you is
Well,
not a factor,
mental competence may
or
be
other
impacted.
level of competence.
If the female is so
You're going to start
unstable,
assessing what level of competence. It's such a gray area.
Okay, so that's fine. So what you guys are saying?
Does the decision come with some risk? Absolutely. It's still the right decision.
Okay, so
I would draw the line or the distinction where a woman is not yet of adult age, as opposed to what is her emotional state, what is her intellectual state. If it's a young girl, a teenage girl we're dealing with, then I think that there has to be, or there should be some counsel provided before a decision is made. I don't think you unilaterally want to allow a 12 or 13-year-old to make a decision
of course,
without
I'm talking. My example is pertains to
without
adults.
concerned people
And all
weighing in on the decision.
in all the abortion clinics, they have that. They have counseling before the decision is made.
Okay, so
But,
guys,
but to get to your example, Aki, if the woman is not unstable, I'm pretty sure the man is not that stable either.
Well,
You know,
okay, so no, my principle.
Don't underestimate the number of women who develop psychological and or emotional issues
Of course.
during the course of a pregnancy. There's a massive hormonal change
Absolutely.
that occurs.
I'm like, all I'm saying is what I'm hearing from you guys. This freedom that women have to make the decision to abort is an absolute, unconditional, ironclad freedom,
I agree with that, yeah.
regardless of circumstances.
Because the exceptions are so minimal,
Okay.
it's not worth the effort.
Okay. And I'm just thinking of there are these difficult situations when that
Yeah.
person really is not mentally capable
There's
of making
always-
the right
there's
decisions,
always-
and there's a partner that really wants to have that child and to raise that
But
child.
that's your opinion. Aki, that's your opinion. The right decision, making the right decision. That phrase, making the right decision, is your opinion. Because you're now making a judgment call that she made the wrong decision. But why are you deciding? That's my point.
Well, because we established in previous podcasts that in spite of Aki stating that he is not judgmental, we know that he is. That's why.
Well, I'm human. Of course, we're all judgmental in one way or another. Of course.
You have to be brain dead not to be. I said it before.
Judgment is an opinion.
Yeah.
And there's no shortage of those at this table.
No, there should be.
Guys, other subjects or other topics, other opinions on this particular topic or subject.
Well, I'd like to know everybody's opinion. Do you think abortion is the killing of a baby?
No.
No?
Well, it is the killing. It is the killing of.
It's not killing.
Well, whatever. Termination of a baby. I don't know. Whatever.
Well, you're
Pussyfooting.
you're taking what will become a life away. So it is killing.
Yeah, and God forgive me, but I don't agree with that
No.
the religious interpretation that's like
That's not necessarily a religious interpretation.
It's not.
it's a doctrine, of course.
It's not.
No, I agree with Dominic. Yeah, it is the killing of a life.
Yeah.
It's the termination of a life.
Okay,
Yes.
I'll give you an example, Aki. You decide you're going to bake blueberry cheesecake. You do all the ingredients, put it in the pan. And the recipe says you got to bake it for 30 minutes.
Right.
Put it in the oven. 15 minutes into the oven, you say, you know what? I don't like a blueberry cheesecake. I don't want this. Shut off the oven, take the cake, and you throw it out. What did you throw out? You throw out a cake.
Yeah, but that's semantics, Dominic.
Yeah,
It's
well,
semantics. We're talking about what the definition of
you
life
like,
is.
you like that, right?
Life, a life for me is life, when you're breathing air and you are, on this earth, that's life for me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. It's way before that for me. Look,
At some point, I have to draw the line somewhere.
look,
So that's where I draw the line.
So that's why being Catholic, my Catholic leaders, we have different opinions. I think abortion is a right, and it's the woman's decision, but it's still killing a baby. It's tantamount to
Well,
Fair.
technically, I don't think it's killing a baby because I use the term baby, and I think the term baby is used to recognize a life form once it comes into this world and starts breathing on its own. But you are certainly taking away what will become a human life.
I agree with that.
You're killing a fetus.
But it's not a human life.
You're killing
It's a fetus.
It is. Look, ask any pregnant women. She'll say, yeah, I'm having a baby.
No, I know. It's okay. Well, that's
Yeah,
where
she doesn't say I have a baby. She
No, I'm
says I'm
having a-
having a baby.
Right.
I'm having a baby.
Right.
Right. And so it's
doesn't
a
say-
fetus. It's not, to me, it's not a baby. It's a fetus, but it's what
Yeah,
will become a
but
human
no.
life.
we
No,
agree with that.
yeah,
We
but
agree
no
with that. But
woman-
it's not
yes.
life. For me, it's not
And-
life
and
the
it
way
is-
we
and
understand
it is
life.
a woman's
No
right.
woman,
It is-
no woman will ever say, I have a fetus. No, I'm having a baby.
Now, we will also hopefully agree that once the pregnancy reaches term, no one has the right to terminate the life.
So 30, yes. So week 35, that's considered the pregnancy, or
There are circumstances that
It's way before
may
that.
cause a choice
okay. So
between preserving a mother's life
yes,
and preserving the fetus so it can come to life.
yes,
Those are rare.
yes.
They're exceptional.
And nobody's arguing.
And they do occur.
Yeah.
And when they occur, ultimately, I think that if there's a spouse involved or a partner involved, they should have a right to weigh in, but ultimately the woman will make the decision.
Okay, but I just want to go back to what you just put on the table. So when you say that there's no allowance for abortion when the pregnancy comes to term, and what's your definition of the pregnancy coming to term?
No, I was half jokingly
Okay,
suggesting
okay.
that
I just wanted to clear that up.
once a human being is fully formed,
Of course.
enters the world,
Of course.
and is breathing, right?
Okay.
Contrary to what some people have suggested
Okay.
in U.S. politics.
Right. So
That-
right.
That's a slippery slope, guys. Because Pat, based on what you just said, if a fetus is viable, meaning if you have a C-section and you take the preemie out and you could still make this thing live after I don't know how many weeks it is, then that passes your definition, doesn't it?
No, the example I'm giving, Naran, is if the mother to be's life is at risk.
No,
So
I get that, but
if she's told by delivering the baby through C-section, we're eliminating any potential risks to you, that's a different matter. I'm talking about where there are complications that are such that a choice has to be made. Both will not survive. So
yeah,
I'm
I
saying
was
if-
talking more about Aki, to support Aki's, I guess what I think Aki is trying to talk about, which is, hey, at what point do you consider the fetus to be a baby? And it doesn't necessarily have to be at 9 months when it's born.
No.
All I'm suggesting is
I
there's a point.
don't think there are too many situations. So looking at it purely on the decision of, I've gone 8 months or 8.5 months, not making a decision on whether or not to have this baby, and now I've decided that I don't want the baby. I don't know how many of those situations actually materialize in everyday life. I have to believe that there are few, very few.
But the principle
It's
still holds.
it's rather well. In my opinion, it's rather late in the game.
Okay. So in that instance, you're saying that when the woman
But
decides,
you got to be careful because I know of situations where babies are not just born a month premature. They're
oh, absolutely,
they're brought into this world
40 weeks, I think I've heard.
weighing like 2.5 pounds.
Yeah.
4 months premature now. There's a good chance
And
they'll live.
They will live.
Yeah.
They will live.
4 months, and they're getting closer to 5 months.
16 to 20 weeks. That's
So, but 4
And again,
months.
I think it's got to get harder and harder for a woman to elect not to carry on with a pregnancy
Exactly.
the longer she's carrying the baby. It's got to be.
okay. So there
Gotta
are
be
some.
increasingly
So what you're saying, we're coming back, and you're saying that our core principle. There are some compromises to that core principle in certain situations.
Not my choice. I have an opinion. It's
Okay.
not my choice.
Okay.
So would our opinions be different if it was our kids?
Always,
Yeah.
of course,
Really?
always.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
I know. I'm speaking for myself. No.
no, me, yeah.
No, not for me.
No.
My kid's choice. And if my sons have their wives, it's their wife's choice. I mean, yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it's gonna hurt, but yeah, it's their choice.
Listen, whether it's my partner or my kids, I'm not going to be shy to voice my opinion.
Okay, Nora, let me.
But ultimately, it's their decision.
Okay, but what are we saying here? All we're saying is that if it's our kids, we are absolutely we respect our kids' choice.
Wait a second. Let me give you
No?
an example. Let's say your daughter is 6 months pregnant. Okay, now she decides she doesn't want the baby.
No, but guys, stop with the 6 months pregnant and then deciding. That doesn't make sense.
Well, it can,
Right.
many situations can occur.
So what is your conclusion?
She shouldn't be allowed to have an abortion then.
So what happened then to our agreement that the final under
He just
most normal
finished telling you-
circumstances?
he just finished telling you that where his children are concerned, he has a different viewpoint.
It's just weird because
Whereas
That's all
for me,
weird.
and I think for Nuran,
example,
it's entirely consistent.
To me, an abortion should be a no-brainer because of an accident. So the first few weeks, but when you get to like a certain number of months pregnant, it's a different situation.
and why? Okay, and to any other woman, that would be what would be your position? It's up to her.
It's up to her.
6 months, 7 months, it's up to her if she
to
wants
her.
to have an abortion or not.
Oh, it's up to
no
her.
issue. But if it's your daughter, it's an issue, and you would stop it.
Well, he wouldn't be able to stop it.
I
He'd
would
want
be
to
able
stop it.
But
Doesn't seem that clear cut.
Guys, I think it's a ridiculous conversation to have because at 6-7 months, you're not getting an abortion.
No.
Doctors won't do that. They'll say you're going to have the kid and put it up for adoption.
Yeah,
They're not- I don't think-
look. So, do these situations occur? Of course, they occur.
They do.
But they're so bloody rare.
Yeah.
they're so bloody rare.
anyways,
You're talking about one in how many?
it's not an easy
No, it's not.
issue.
It's not.
That's the problem. It's not an easy issue.
Well, if it's not an easy
But-
issue from our perspective,
Yeah.
imagine for the woman who's carrying the
Right.
baby.
And there you go. The example that you gave, Nuran, again, it goes against, what we all agreed on. Because in that instance, the doctors are saying at 6, again, I understand we're talking about, extremely rare situations, thankfully. But there's a situation where you're taking away the power of the woman to make the final decision. The doctor steps in and says that the pregnancy is too far along, therefore you cannot have an abortion.
and let's look at things
Actually,
practically.
at a certain point, common sense has to come into play. Okay, we have to all agree that a fetus is a fetus and a viable human being that's been gestated enough to be alive. If you do a C-section, is a different animal than a fetus that's that's 2 weeks old. Okay, so this is why there's complications, and people use these things to kind of encroach on each other's territory, pro-choice, pro-life. But I mean, at a certain point, and I don't know what that point is, but we can define it. I'm sure scientists and doctors can define it. At a certain point, when it's viable, it's a human being. And no, you're not going to abort an 8-month or a 7.5-month old child.
But
I mean, that's ridiculous.
practically speaking, there would have been many opportunities for various individuals to weigh in and to help the individual who is struggling with a decision whether or not to carry the baby through to term or the pregnancy through to term, for that individual to make a decision well before she reaches the 6 or 7 month stage.
Okay. But as a principle, what I want to clear up, as a principle, what I understood was that we're saying right up to the end of the pregnancy, this is the woman's call. She is the ultimate voice and the ultimate decision maker here on an abortion, right up to the end of the pregnancy. We agree?
Yeah.
But the general principle, that's the general principle.
The principle I agree with.
Okay.
I don't have to agree with her decision.
Okay.
But it's her decision.
Okay. And then we understand that that's where it gets complicated because there's realities that set in before the end of...
the further along you get in a pregnancy, the more complicated and difficult it will be.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Totally agree.
But what I'm hearing is that power and the right and freedom that the woman has gets compromised by these circumstances as the pregnancy goes along.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are you okay with that, Nuran?
Yes.
All right.
We're good.
Guys, there you go. This is why we should have an opinion on abortion.
All good. Other than Dominic's kids.
Daughters.
Hey guys, I think it's funny that it's a bunch of old guys talking about pregnant women.
Yeah, some people think it's funny that a bunch of old guys are talking about a variety of different subjects.
Well, because we did impregnate a few.
And that's the Romeo brand.
The Romeo brand.
Hey Dominic, I think you had anyway. Never mind.
No, go ahead. Finish that thought.
You can always edit it out.
Which we've never edited anything out, by the way. Right?
It's okay.
That's right.
I know. I deserve a few, so that's okay.
Yeah.
You don't want to finish that thought, Nuran?
Oh, come on, Nuran.
I can't. Sorry, I can't hear Dominic very well.
Oh, okay.
No, you were about to make a comment about Dominic.
Yeah, I was making a comment about how prolific he may have been. So that's all.
Okay.
Right. We're overachievers.
Well,
by
today's standards, we all are.
I
Yes.
put a third one, but I don't think you want to see it.
I did.
All right, guys. Any final thoughts on this subject?
Well, I'm glad that we all agree that it's a woman's final decision.
Yeah.
However, there are,
many wrinkles.
many wrinkles. Yeah, it's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
So,
And we'd like to hear, this is an important conversation. We'd love to hear from our viewers, from our women viewers. I'm sure we're gonna be hearing it from our partners.
Are we?
men viewers too.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, absolutely. Provide comments, feedback on this topic, any other topic, any topics you would like us to discuss in the future. We welcome all input. Thanks for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Take care, Romeos.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye.